I wonder if you might share one or two vocal warm-ups with us.
Vocal warm-ups? No. No.
No.
La 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 la. If I go any higher, my voice is gonna crack. That's all you're getting.
See, the thing about vocal warm-ups is that they're private. They're not attractive. You don't want to see that.
If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled pepper pops, where is the peck of pickled pepper pops that Peter Piper picked?
The lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue. You don't want to see none of that.
Do I need to do like an intro thing or?
My name is Andrew Garfield.
My name is Benedict Cumberbatch.
My name is Nicole Kidman.
My name is Penélope Cruz.
My name is Idris Elba.
My name is Michaela J. Rodriguez.
My name is Simu Liu.
My name is Kristen.
I did not consider giving up, no.
No.
There were moments in my career where I've had, tough times. I was unemployed for about 4 years when I lived in New York. I was homeless for about 3 months, living in my van. I did consider giving up then.
You get tested to the point of maybe it's time to throw in the towel, and then if you can get through that boundary, then then you end up wearing a silly brooch.
Right when I first kind of got started, I think was when it was the hardest for me, just because I was leaving a career in accounting and finance. I was like handing out something like, must have been like dog food samples on the side of the street. I was in the financial district where I used to work, and I ran into one of the people that I used to work with. Of course, he was wearing this Wall Street cut Hugo Boss suit, and I was in this shirt with nutrients printed, in bold letters over the chest. And he was like, "What are you doing? I thought you were acting." And I was like, "Yeah, well, times are hard."
I got pregnant. I was 40 and I went, I think I might be done. I remember my mother very distinctly over the phone saying, in the next decade or so, you're going to want your career. That's when I sort of took a fork in the road and started producing some of my own material. That's when I did Rabbit Hole and was able to produce it. Also, give other people like playwrights and a certain number of directors and other actors opportunities, which was really fun and really exciting.
I didn't have to consider giving up because I've been very lucky, and I don't take it for granted, the fact that I've been able to keep working since the beginning of my career when I was 16, 17. To do that, I had to stop dancing because that was my plan B. I was a student of classical ballet since I was 4.
Honestly, each place I get to in my life, it's like, wow, I can still get goosebumps. I can still have complete terror. I can still have all these intense emotions that rapidly move through my body and my mind.
I was at home. I was in my tiny little apartment in Toronto. I just woken up from a nap. I was in my underwear. I was eating shrimp crackers by myself. I was on the computer, and then Kevin Feige called my cell phone, picked up, and he was like, "Hi, this is Kevin. I'm here. I'm in the room with Jonathan Schwartz, our producer. I'm here with Destin Daniel Cretton, the director. I'm here with Sarah Finn. We want you to be Shang-Chi." I hung up the phone and I collapsed onto my bed and started crying hysterically. I knew how big this role was. I knew what it meant for me. I knew what it meant for Asian people everywhere. And it was just an incredible moment. I was so over the moon.
The most emotional I've ever been was when I booked the part of Blanca on Polish Child. That threw me for a loop, and she's taken me a whole bunch of places. So thank you, Blanca. I was home in Jersey. I got a call from Ryan Murphy. He asked me what I was doing, and I was listening to Rihanna's Wild Thoughts on my computer. He said, "Oh, that's great. You have the part." And I cried and went downstairs and cried to my mother and my family.
When I get a part that I really love, I am immediately kind of reeling at the fact that I said yes. All of my prep is always sort of convincing myself that I can do this. If anything, I feel immense relief when somebody says, "I don't want you to be in my movie." Okay, great, well then I won't.
I remember when I landed the role of Stephen Hawking, big break for me, and I was over the moon for about 20 seconds and then utterly terrified. And that didn't really stop until one moment on set where he went, "That was good." And then I was like, okay, we're in now.
The first thing that comes to mind is the first movie I ever was cast in, which is a film called Lions for Lambs. It's a Robert Redford film that Robert Redford directed and starred in with Tom Cruise and Meryl Streep and and me, and that was my first movie.
The most emotional I've ever been when I've landed a role is probably when I landed Mandela. That was the last film my dad got to see before he passed, and it was very emotional that his son got to play one of his idols.
Probably when I got Parallel Mothers, because we were in the middle of total lockdown, the beginning of the virus, and Pedro called me and he said that he was writing and that he was writing for me. And he told me this story, and I remembered because the first time he shared the story was almost 20 years ago in New York, while we were promoting All About My Mother. We had no idea if we were going to be able to do the movie ever, or in 1 year, or in 5 or 10 years. Nobody knew what was going to happen. So it was a very big deal for me, that phone call.
Well, Penelope, you've had such a wonderful, amazing career where you've had the opportunity to play so many different types of characters. What roles excite you? What is maybe something that you haven't played or haven't been able to explore that you want to?
I would like to do more comedy. I would like to do more musicals because I've only done one, 9, with Rob Marshall. I was very happy doing that because I was able to use all those years that I trained as a dancer. I love that genre. I love musicals, and I hope I get to do more.
Turned up to an audition, sat down and looked around. There's a couple of other actors and they're all reciting. And I was like, what are you guys doing? We're practicing the speech. What are you doing? I said, speech? What speech? Cut to, I'm sitting in front of the director and he says, so you've got the speech ready? Probably 1.5 minutes of an absolute improvised speech with tears, screaming, shouting. I even threw some furniture and they were blown away. I got the job.
I look for nerves as an indicator of getting close to something that I'm meant to be close to.
Adrenaline and nerves is something that makes me kind of click in. When I had to sing in Moulin Rouge, it was pretty horrendously nerve-wracking whenever I have to sing live.
One day I'll fly away.
Everyone gets nervous when they have to sing in front of a whole bunch of people 17,000 times.
The point in my career that I felt the most nervous was when I was screen testing for this Marvel role. I mean, you talk about this one opportunity that could drastically alter the course of your life forever. I got on a flight from Toronto. I put on the soundtrack of Avengers Endgame. It's like ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-bum, bum, you know? And everyone around me probably thought I was just crazy. It was on something. It was like 7 a.m. and I was just sitting in my chair like.
I went to a party at a place, I don't even remember, and I was like 22, 23, and I hadn't made a film or anything, but I saw one of the actors who played one of the Fratelli brothers from the Goonies. I think I started crying and I had to lean against the wall and almost kind of fell over. I thought, oh gosh, I don't belong here. I want to leave. I don't want to ever meet my heroes.
Red carpets are odd because it's just you and a lot of very bizarre, unreal attention. Nothing to play with, no words to hide behind, no artistry to make of it. Apart from fashion, that helps, but it's odd.
A casting director told me one time, if you ever go into an audition or you're about to meet a director, just never tell a lie. Never tell a lie. Even if they ask you the most awkward question, tell the truth.
When I auditioned for Panic Room, I auditioned like 8 times. And I just kept thinking, like, it's okay, you don't have to give me the job. Lorraine Mayfield was our casting director, and it wasn't anything she said, it was just that she saw behind the sort of awkwardness and she saw behind the weird pretenses that my 10-year-old self had put up and just vouched for me. And that felt cool. It was one of the first times anyone was ever like, no, I can see something nobody else can. And I was like, thank you.
So Katrina Bayonas, who is still my agent today, I went to see her the first time when I was 15. She was casting people to represent them, and she sent me home 3 times because she said I was too young. So I had to constantly lie about my age when I started working because everyone was telling me I was too young, but I didn't feel too young. 3rd time, after the 3rd casting, she told me, okay, I'm gonna work with you, I'm gonna represent you, and I'm gonna start sending you to some castings. And she's still my agent today in Spain.
Jane Campion said to me very early on, protect your spirit. I didn't quite understand it. I now completely understand it. And I do pass it on to other actors. You know, you have to be protective of your talent because you can't just expect it to always give. You have to be willing to nourish it, replenish it, take care of it. and not let people just access it without knowing it's safe.
I will never forget this casting agent told me, so needed. She just told me to go change the world. And I didn't know what that specifically meant at the time, because I mean, changing the world can be very specific or vague. I remember telling her, I just want to make people happy, and I want to make sure that they get the understanding of me as a person, but me as an actress and what I want to convey through the characters that I play. I cried, and she was crying with me, and she said, well, go change the world. It was so nice meeting you. And I walked out that door feeling so accomplished.
Joyce Nettles, fantastic casting director, a lot of television, but a lot of theatre as well. She was very honest. She went, it's not that I don't believe you can do anything, but you have to start with what people perceive you as. I began doing this to be anything but what people perceive me as. I want to escape. I knew the limitations of who I was. I knew myself quite well. I'm an only child that spent a lot of time in my head by the time I got to be starting acting at school and university, so I wanted to sort of explore other heads, I guess.
When I was in drama school, I was, you have no idea. You have no idea of what you're doing, and you have no idea if you're going to be able to make a living. You have no idea if you're going to be able to do this thing with your life that feels so right to you. When someone points at you who has a little bit of experience in the field and says, hey, I think you can, it's so profound. Like, it really fills you up, because you just don't know. So for me, my agent, since I was 18, 19, and she saw me in drama school, and her name is Kate Bryden in the UK, and she was one of those first people that said, yes, I really believe in you. Just so simple. And then, she had the the privilege of telling me, when I wouldn't stop hounding her about why I wasn't cast as Prince Caspian in the Chronicles of Narnia, why it wasn't me. She had the privilege of telling me, after I was hounding her, eventually she just blurted out, she said, because they don't think you're handsome enough, Andrew. I'm sorry for putting you through that, Kate. And I'm glad it was you who broke the news to me that Ben Barnes is just better looking, which is inarguable and a brilliant talent. I'm glad it's her that's telling me I'm not attractive, rather than anyone else.
There's a movie that I really badly wanted. It was a long time ago too, but I had a director tell me that I was missing an it factor. And I think that's so much of the struggle of new actors as well, because I think you're constantly in a place where you're having to prove yourself. It's like grasping at sand. It's like the more you want to do it, the worse you come off. And so I tried to kind of take it in a constructive way. And it really just came down to letting go of the need to impress somebody, whether it's an audition or being on set. It's just, being present and being authentic and true is more important than any of those other things. I'm truly grateful that I got that note, because I do feel like I have an it factor. And I'm glad that I can finally show it to the world now.
I learned a lot from Jessica Chastain. She works incredibly hard. And her and I were working together on a film called Molly's Game for Aaron Sorkin, and we had more than the average share of lines. I learned from Jessica that you can never run your lines too much. Never. Meryl Streep, for every single take being a complete reinterpretation of the music she was playing with the orchestra of her talent. Claire Foy. This is the longest answer I'll give you, because I always learn off my co-stars.
Technically speaking, it has to be Jodie Foster, because I was such a sponge when I was 10. Her approach was like so steady, grounded, honest, present, but also like 1 foot in and 1 foot out, in a way that she was able to really sort of like possess her part, possess the space around her, and not feel like she was pretending and being something other than her. And so I was like, oh, okay, so forever. Jodie Foster forever. Got it. Gary Oldman for his containment ability to be incredibly myopically focused on detail, and at the same time, in other beats, be dramatic and theatrical in a close-up.
Well, I was on a show called Kim's Convenience for 5 years. Our number one on that show was Paul Sun-Hyun Lee, and I learned so much from him, not only in craft. He was the kind of guy that would give you a hug every single morning, would give you a hug every night when we wrapped, and he really just made being on set and going to work fun for everybody. I'll never forget what he taught me.
Probably Ben Kingsley. He doesn't lecture you, he doesn't talk about it, he just does it. I remember if I was ever complaining about like too much noise before a scene, before a difficult scene, he would just look at me and smile and And in a very special way, he would tell me to just use it and bring it as part of the scene. Of course, I've heard that before, but he was teaching me that with his example every day, in every scene.
Martin Freeman, for his sort of musicality, he's so exact. He's a master of rhythm, and he makes it seem like breath rather than something percussionary. There's a music to what he does.
Maybe more people should know about a Scottish actor called Peter Mullen. He played my social worker in this film. I hadn't done any camera on like film acting before, and he just showed me how to live on camera, how to forget the camera was there, how to really connect with your scene partner. Spontaneous things happen when you allow yourself to just be alive, to pay attention, to listen, and to respond, and to be an emotional human animal.
Golly, why do you ask for the mosts?
This is not a small interview. This is everything.
The most challenging scene I've ever worked on is a film called Beast of No Nation, and my character, who is this sort of commander, if you like, and this scene is where he tries to take advantage of one of his child soldiers.
These are the ones that killed your father. Eh? Go on. Shut up!
The worst scene I've ever had to play.
In the most recent film I made, which was Tick, Tick, Boom, the story of Jonathan Larson, there's a scene which is set in the Delacorte Theatre in the middle of the night with the character I play and a piano. I, as the character, have to figure out getting through this emotional crux moment by improvising and making up a song and singing it live and playing the piano alone in the middle of Central Park in the middle of the night while trying to understand and deal with loss, the first big loss in my young life as this character. One of those moments where you have to just kind of surrender and hope that the muses are with you.
I made a vow, I wonder now, am I cut out to spend my time this way?
I wish I could remember the most challenging scene I ever worked on, but it's like they're not logged that way. The times that I've been shocked by a scene, the times that I've been totally gripped by an emotion that I could never have planned, they're the easiest and they're the best. And the times that it's been like the most challenging, that scene probably is bad. If you're pushing and straining so hard, it's for naught. When you're shocked by yourself, that's when it is like the best. So for me, the most challenging is the least consequential.
Kristen, how many hours of real footage of Diana did you watch like per day? I'm sure a lot. And congratulations, you're amazing.
So many hours of footage before we started shooting, and very classically stopped watching stuff when we started and kind of trusted that all of those memories would find themselves within my psyche and within my body kind of naturally, and that I didn't have to fixate on them. So once we started, I had like a couple voice notes on my phone that if I started to forget the tonal quality of the emotional effect that her voice had on me, I would listen to it.
There is only one tense. There is no future. Past and the present are the same thing.
One of the biggest challenges I had in my career was playing Richard III and having to monologue at a lens, like talking down the barrel like I am now. It's very, very odd because you often see your own reflection, which is very bizarre.
Would he were wasted, marrow, bones, and all, that from his loins no hopeful branch may spring to cross me from the golden time I look for.
You don't have a sense of community with your audience. Community? Communing with your audience.
Okay, Benedict, was it so hard to be mean to Kristen?
Yes, I did find it difficult being mean to Kirsten because she's so damn lovely and amazing, and I'm a huge fan of hers, but we hung out as friends and as parents of young children at the weekend, so it kind of made up for it.
Well, Brother Phil, we had such a nice trip.
I'm not your brother. You're a cheap schemer.
It's strange, there was a lot of time when we weren't actually on set together, so she had to manifest a lot of that presence herself. Just another kind of testament to how powerful her performance is, but yeah, I gave her both barrels.
Right now, baby, I'm just sitting here thinking, fuck.
Have I made it? My brain doesn't think like that. I think I just go, gosh, what a fantastic thing to have the opportunity to work and keep traveling and seeing people and keep creating, you know. So I don't know about making it. I'm not quite sure what make it means. I wouldn't know how to define that. I'm still on the quest.
All of it still seems so unreal. And I kind of like that. I like that it keeps me grounded. That keeps me humble. Because I feel like if I knew Honey, I would be a whole different person.
It's so hard to get a movie made, and it's so hard to get into a movie as an actor. The first time I actually walked onto a movie set and I was in a movie, I was an extra in the Flintstones Viva Rock Vegas, and like the director was like, hey, you want to jump in the movie? And I was like, yeah. Whether it's your first or your 25th, it always feels the same. It always feels like, oh my God, I can't believe we got here.
I have falsely felt like I've made it at multiple points in my career. I remember it was a 2-liner for a show called Nikita. It was my first speaking role, and I remember being like, I made it.
You speak English?
Yes, how can I help you? And then, you get your paycheck, it's like $800, and then you're right back to square one. I just want to kind of go out and continue working with the same level of hunger that I had when I was 23 years old and auditioning to play desk cop number 1 on Nikita.
I knew that when I took on Sherlock that I was stepping into the limelight, but I would have been very happy carrying on doing what I was already doing. That was the first moment I thought, wow, if this is as good as the script I've just read for the audition, and if I get it, lots of ifs, but still, it's a very iconic character. I knew there'd be a lot of attention on it, so if we got it half right, that could go well. And then it just went nuts after that. That was really very near the birth of Twitter and that kind of immediate sense that there's an audience watching you. So the water cooler moment became instantaneous. It wasn't even the next morning. It was like, phones blowing up, people trending. Kind of a 19-year overnight success. So it took a while to have that moment, but there is no learning other than it happening to sort of prepare you for that. You have to kind of navigate it every day, I think.
I feel grateful that I can wake up every morning and do the work that I love. Being part of this profession, that was my dream since I was a little girl. But I never had that feeling of, I have arrived somewhere. I have done everything I was supposed to do or learned everything I was supposed to learn. When I'm 90 or 100, and I hope to get there, I will be telling you exactly the same things. I will still feel like a student. And that is one of the most beautiful things about this profession.
Collaboration. I love working with other people. I love being a storyteller. I love being able to seduce an audience into a world and a character that they haven't experienced before.
I don't know if I love most, but I like that I haven't been typecast. I like that I haven't been pigeonholed, and I like that I'm not put in a place where I have to conform.
I love meeting new people. I'm a new face in the industry. I'm also a different kind of girl in the industry, and not a lot of us have that, space, and now we're getting a lot of it. So being in the space with people I've never met before, but that I've dreamed of being with is amazing. And also just being able to have fun and play. That's what our job is, basically. So
I love delving into deep, dark, mysterious, and sometimes just sheer unknowable places, and doing it with people that you trust and that you want to take that journey with. And anytime I start talking about movies or acting, it starts to become sort of synonymous with just existential life conversations. You just start going like, are we talking about acting right now and your process? Are we talking about our approach to wanting to be alive? My favorite thing is when you can't tell the difference.
I love that no 2 days are the same. You're generally doing a scene that's never been done before. You get to play for a living, and you get to teach people about life and learn things about yourself. The only rule is that there is no rule. There's absolutely no routine. There's something pretty cool about not knowing what the next day is going to bring.
It's always starting from zero. I'm always new. I'm always starting from a place where I don't know, where I feel like a very healthy fear. I never want to feel too safe. I don't think that's possible with our profession. It's such an important thing and such a great engine that we need to try to find truth in what we do.
Story connects me to life. I get to access all these different parts of myself through the characters I play, and all these parts of myself that I didn't know I had. Like I never dreamed I would ever play Jim Baker, for example. I never dreamed I'd be able to sing. Doing the job, you get put in touch with, those extreme poles of what it is to be a person.
I get to, create characters, play people that I would never be, teach an audience about someone they would probably never meet. That's the one thing I really, really love. That, and when they say, it's a wrap, I love that moment as well.
That's a wrap on this.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank
Awesome.
you. Thank you so much.